Good morning, Kahal Kadosh, Shavua Tov Mevorach, Veruchim Abayim to everybody. Today, Tuesday, the 25th day of Tishrei, corresponding to the 10th of October 2023. Today's class, graciously sponsored by Shimon Afriat, the Ilui Nishmat, his grandfather, Shimon ben Simcha, Alav Shalom. Additionally, today's class, graciously sponsored by the Levi family, Le'ilui Nishmat, their beloved mother, Katriela Bat Bela Malka. Iratzon, that to the words of Torah, their neshamot have an aliyah in Gan Eden. Amen.
Amen.
So, before we begin with the class, it's imperative that we remember two great Tsadikim that lived over 200 and some years ago. Two known Tsadikim, one by the name of the great Hatam Sofer, and the other one by the great Kedushat Levi, also known as Rabbi Levi Ishak of Bardichon. So I'll give you short, brief synopsis of the life before we dwell into Bereshit. But above anything else, obviously, all our prayers and our Torah learning and everything that we are doing is definitely dedicated for the well-being of the brethren in Eretz Israel, of our brothers and sisters, and they are all inclusive. We're talking about the army, we're talking about the wounded, we're talking about, God forbid, the kidnapped, we're talking about the victims of terror, Haz v'shalom, Hashem yinkom damam. So it's an all-inclusive dedication, and Be'ezat Hashem, we hope and pray to hear better news coming from Eretz Israel. Amen.
Amen.
So let's start with the Hatam Sofer. Rabbi Moshe Sofer, his original name was Schreiber, which that's the meaning of Sofer. Sofer is a Sephardic version. Schreiber means a scribe, a writer. Sofer is the same thing. So you have Sofer, which is Sephardic, and you have Sofer that is Ashkenazic. But probably both of them demonstrates the same name. So the great Hatam Sofer was born in 1766 and passed away in 1839. There are groups that went to visit the kever of the Hatam Sofer, which I think it's in Europe, in a place that used to be called in the past Bratislava, I believe. I saw a documentary yesterday on a rabbi who gave a virtual tour to the kever of the Hatam Sofer, and he wrote obviously mega magnificent commentaries on the Torah, on the Halakha. He was one of the greatest poskim of that generation, answering questions basically from the Middle East and from Europe. That's where the majority of the concentration of Jewish people was in that time of history. But also one thing was said about him was that in his time there were new movements that we know them later in history as the Reform and Conservative, Progressionist, Modern Orthodoxy, Open Orthodoxy, which thank God they are almost disappearing today, because they realize that it's not a formula of shortening our ways to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he had to wage many spiritual wars to protect the spiritual well-being of the Jewish people. And some of them, regretfully, and I was shocked when I heard this yesterday, that in his time, there were many Jewish people that resorted to give up their Judaism and to blend in with the European society in order to be accepted into the social circles. And history tells us that whenever actions or movements were done on that level, what was the end? Disaster. So he said, I'm drawing a line on the sand. And it says, we don't cross boundaries. You know, the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says, Ve'asu seyag la Torah. What does it mean in English? That the Hachamim are given certain Torah power to create fences to protect the spiritual welfare of the Jewish people. We have seen it throughout life. Another case in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot about Aharon HaKohen. I said this in the Sukkah last week. Ohev et haberiot umkarevan laTorah. He loved everyone and brought them closer to the Torah. Why the Mishnah needs to tell me these two components? He loves everyone and brings them closer to the Torah, because sometimes people may say, I'm going to bring people closer to the Torah. Hazak u'baruch. But what they do, instead of elevating the people to the Torah, they want to dilute the Torah to the people. And the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says no. You want to help someone to get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, teach them one step at a time, like in Bereshit. What do you think? God couldn't create the world in an entire second, in one instant? Yet HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us, okay, this is day 1, this is day 2. Why? To teach us that good things in life and certain things in life, they require time. Like pregnancy. Pregnancy is only the result of the tragedy in Sefer Bereshit between Adam and Eve. Before that sin was instant delivery. Instant delivery. They did the mitzvah, Mabruk, Mazel Tov, baby out. It's coming back. When Mashiach comes. Mashiach comes, no more pregnancy. Sure. All these unfortunate outcomes that we are experiencing in life today are all relevant to Perashah Bereshit. But we'll save that for some other time. This was the great Hatam Sofer. Then we have another giant, the great Kedushat Levi of Bardichov, also known as Sanegorian Shel Israel. He was the advocate of the Jewish people. He also saw the goodness, even when scenarios were nowhere goodness to be found. He was born 1740, passed away 1809. I think that he lived 2 generations after the Baal Shem Tov. That's the lineage that it goes. And till today, thousands of people go to his kever. Some of us went to visit him in our trips to the Ukraine, with some of you here present, some of you in iTorah.com that joined in the trip. And Baruch Hashem, he was known as I said, the Sanegor. What's the meaning of the Sanegor? It is easy to criticize. You want to criticize? You can criticize everyone here. You can even criticize me. What do you think? I'm perfect. I understand that, but there are people who criticize rabbis. I don't want to be in their shoes, but that's a different story. Not for today. Thank God that rabbis are polite and respectful, and they let it slide, and they ignore things. But there are those who do criticize. Talks too much, prays too long, is too religious. What do you expect the rabbi to do?
No changing shir hashirim.
Right, that's a beautiful gift. I'm giving you a gift.
I love that. I love it.
I love it.
I love it.
Because if people will understand the benefits of Shir HaShirim, people will line up to say it. At all levels. I'm going to speak about it closer to Shabbat. I'm not going to publicize this. I'm only giving you a free sample, but it's going to come in an email format in a respectful way. We're not running a poll. We're not asking votes. We're doing the change effective this Shabbat for the benefit of the Jewish people. If you don't want to do that, then it's your issue with the Jewish people, not mine. As a rabbi, as much as I can say, pray for Israel, read Tehillim, talking is good, but the main thing is the action. You want to donate to Israel, Chazak u'baruch. Just make sure that the money goes to where it's supposed to go. There is a lot of fake news and a lot of scams already found. Many of them are coming from the telephones of the victims from Israel, regretfully, that they were taken with them and now they're using them against us. Bottom line, We need to do what we need to do. I don't think that many of us are able or willing at all levels to travel and to pick up a weapon and go, but we can do what we can do.
Yeah.
We activate Hashem's compassion. And the moment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees that we are looking to do better and to change and to improve and understand that life is not the same. As of now, I got 4 cancellations of events. As of now, in town. No, we decided to cancel. We're going to do something small. We're going to do something more private. People plan weddings in Israel. They don't know what to do. They need to get married here now. There are no flights in, there are no flights out. And they're telling you, stay home. Avoid the public masses, avoid the gatherings, whatever that means. And hope and pray that by Ezrat Hashem, things will get better.
Amen.
But I think that we need to be realistic with ourselves. This may be going on for a while. Somebody asked me, why don't Israel attack? Because Israel attacks may be victorious to a certain extent, but no one guarantees us that the 100 kidnaps that they have are going to be rescued alive. And that's something that we need to think of as well. When I was taking a shower today, I said to myself, look at me. I'm taking a nice, comfortable shower, and there are brothers and sisters that are suffering. That was the thought that crossed in my mind today. I said, what I'm doing? Obviously, I couldn't stop the water running, otherwise I would be full of soap. But this was the thought that crossed my brain in the morning. Can you imagine living, being, God forbid, in the conditions that they are? So we need to do the things that we can do. Increasing in Torah learning, increasing in prayers. Changing is the most difficult part of it. Doing a change that hopefully will last. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam She'akol Nihya V'Baruch.
Amen.
One more thing, and it needs to be said. We can't try always being politically correct and say what people want to hear. Sometimes we have to say what people don't want to hear. That's the idea of Teshuvah. If you look in the Rambam, in the laws of Teshuvah, what is Teshuvah? Waking up. Now, we have no doubts, and this is my humble opinion. You agree, you don't agree, I'm not asking for your opinion at this time. But, no, this is not a time to laugh, it's a time to cry. It's a time to cry. If you look at the numbers, don't look at the videos and don't look at the pictures, because they damage your neshama, they damage your brains, it breaks down your day. But just look at the numbers. The hundreds, maybe close to 1,000 casualties already. Has v'shalom. They found more bodies. More bodies are found. God forbid. So, yeah, we need to understand that even though the week post Simchat Torah, Sukkot, it's a moment of Yehishem. Right? Yehishem. You know, somebody asked, why do we say Yehishem? Irrelevant of this situation, why do we say Yehishem after Simchat Torah for a whole week? I'll give you the short answer. Because the day of Shemini Aseret and Hosha'ana Rabbah is the marriage between God and the Jewish people. Because you have a clean slate. We are like a new bride. A Betulah. And how many days of Shiv'a Berachot the Hatan gets? 7 days. So we have 7 days after Shemini Aseret, we say Yehishem. That's the Kabbalistic reason why we say Yehishem year after year. A rabbi said, perhaps we should say Anna instead of Yeshem. I said, no one can change takanot of our Hachamim. But we do something else. We are saying Avinu Malkeno, based on the directives of the great Hachamim of Eretz Israel. We are adding extra prayers of Tehillim. Because Tehillim, it's a multi-purpose weapon. That's why Tehillim are available for all scenarios, all situations. But one area that definitely activates additional protection for the Jewish people, there are two areas: Shemirat Shabbat and Torah learning. Shemirat Shabbat, observing the Shabbat. You say, Rabbi, I observe the Shabbat. No, you don't observe the Shabbat when you go to the swimming pool. No. You don't observe the Shabbat when you swim. You don't observe the Shabbat when you talk about business on your Shabbat table. So you may say, oh, so nobody says Shomer Shabbat? No. I beg to differ. And I'm only bringing two simple examples to understand what does it mean enhancing the observance of the Shabbat. And if it means to get to shul on time before Shabbat starts, that's a beautiful added bonus. Why? That's called Tosefet Shabbat. And when we say every Shabbat prayers, Beshameru Bnei Israel et Shabbat, that we observe the Shabbat. You know what our Midrashim and Hachamim say? Not so much how we observe the Shabbat, but how much the Shabbat protects us. Ki eshmera Shabbat el ishmereni. Ki eshmera Shabbat. Thank you. El ishmereni. Ki eshmera Shabbat. When I will observe the Shabbat, El ishmereni. The Almighty is going to protect me. Rabotai, as I said the other day, enhancing us, whatever level it may mean. For somebody could mean dress nice in honor of Shabbat, instead of coming to the shul with the jeans and sneakers. It's not a Shabbat dress code, jeans or sneakers. I'm sorry. Whoever takes it the wrong way, hatati aviti pashati. Okay? But we're not here to mince words. We're here to activate awareness. Whatever that means. And I use simple examples that are easy to relate to. I'm not even talking about those who drive on Shabbat and use cell phones on Shabbat and check emails on Shabbat, watch TV on Shabbat. Obviously, all these actions, how normal may be because of the way we live life, but all these scenarios that I describe, they violate the sanctity of the Shabbat. So for some reason, for someone maybe, do me a favor, don't drive on Shabbat. That's it. For another person maybe, don't use the cell phone on Shabbat. For another person maybe, don't check your emails on Shabbat. For another person is, don't turn on the TV with a timer on Shabbat. They even give you halachot. No, I put a timer, and they give you the rashot. Right. Again, I'm using simple examples that I'm aware that some may have a challenge with. And if we want to do really something for Israel besides being sorry, this is what the changes need to be. Shemirat Shabbat better, welcoming the Shabbat on a timely manner. And guess what? We are saying all this before Shabbat Bereshit. And our holy rabbis tell us that officially, in the neshama of the person, the first Shabbat of the year is Shabbat Bereshit. Even though I had Shabbat Rosh Hashanah, and Shabbat Shuvah, and Shabbat of Sukkot, and Shabbat of Shemini Aseret, all those Shabbatot that we went through the year, they always had a guest. You can call it Shabbat Shuvah, you can call it Rosh Hashanah, you can call it Sukkot, you can call it Shemini Aseret. Now all the guests went home. Now it's God and I. And our holy rabbis tell us the way that a person prepares and observes and honors Shabbat Bereshit, that gives us the power for the entire year.
Wow.
All the Shabbatot. So if there is a Shabbat that we need to now deliver on our promises, because when we lead the Vidui in Yom Kippur, the long Vidui, Al-Hed, and we say the sins, half of the sins that I mentioned are in the Siddur, in the Mahzor. We did not dress in honor of Shabbat. We did not say words of Torah on the Shabbat table. We were late in welcoming the Shabbat. We did not honor the Shabbat with food and drinks. The Shabbat welcomed us instead of us welcoming the Shabbat. That's the reason we're making the change. And we're switching. Minha first, Shir Hashirim second, and then Kabbalat Shabbat. And Kabbalat Shabbat is time to start 3 minutes before Shabbat starts. So we have 3 extra minutes of Shabbat in our day. Guess what? It's all profit. Besides the benefits of Shir Hashirim, I'm very nether closer to Shabbat. I'm going to bring you a whole list of good things that we get when we do the Shir Hashirim. At the end of the day, we all know well that Shir Hashirim is a love relationship between God and the Jewish people. At this moment, we have no love relationship between God and the Jewish people. The love is there, but it needs to be reactivated. It's like husband and wife. They are into a fight. They sleep in 2 different bedrooms. They don't talk with each other. God forbid. So can you multiply that pain between husband and wife relationship into God and the Jewish people? And of course, everything that God does is for good. Nobody denies that. And everything happens for a godly reason. But guess what? The casualties are not zero. Beyond our comprehension. And they're Hachamim. I say this in a derogatory way. They're wise guys who know why these things happen. Nobody knows. One thing is for sure, that this tragedy brought unity among the Jewish people. And before this tragedy, there was no unity among the Jewish people. It's painful. When we say mahloket kills, and we brought this back then in Perashat Korah, that whenever there is argument among the Jewish people, even babies and innocent people pay the price. Usually, if there is a judgment activated, there are parameters. Nothing below the age of 20. No judgment before the age of 20. Meaning to say judgment as a result of the own actions of the person. With one exception. Hilul Hashem and Mahloket. When there is Hilul Hashem and Mahloket, argument, strives, fighting, bickering, the rules of engagement are gone. Whoever is in the middle of the way pays the price. That's what Rashi writes in the Perashat of Aharon HaKohen. Mishenitan reshut lamashhit lahbol en mavdil ben tzaddik lerasha. When God forbid God forbid, the power of judgment is allowed to become activated in the world, whoever is in the way pays the price. That's what I mean. There is no distinction between the righteous or the guilty. And babies are innocent. Babies have no sins. How many children were killed?
Many.
God forbid. Many. So we cannot ignore the fact. You can blame Hamas, you can blame CNN, you can blame the government, you can blame whoever you want.
Iran.
But forget about Iran. Okay? They are all guilty, of course. And God will deal with them. God will deal with them accordingly. Don't think for a moment that because there is a heavenly decree and automatically the judgment is activated, they are free. Look in Tomer Devora when he explains Nebuchadnezzar, Paro, Haman, Amalek, all pay the price. And he asks the question, why they should pay the price? If they can only act if the heavenly court gave them permission. He says because they abused the power. They could have gone mild, but they went overboard. And they will pay the price. I have no doubt that they will pay the price. But if the only thing we say is their fault, is their fault, is their fault, believe me, we are looking for more trouble, and I don't want to say what I can't say. God forbid. Let's read just a few lines of the halakha. Because at the end of the day, if part of our need is to change, let's read some basic halachot. Is Bereshit, so we're starting from the lobby. We're starting from the lobby and we're moving closely. So it says, Itgaber Ka'ari, Shulchan Aruch, rule number 1, wake up early in the morning. In other words, start the day early. Next will be ideal, Sheyehu Me'orer HaShahar. You wake up the day instead of the day waking you up. But I'm willing to compromise in this statement and to say, if you are able to pray nets, Chazak Baruch. But if you cannot, make sure to pray with the minyan. Make it part of your daily regimen, daily exercise. Number 1, Ra'ui lechol yirei shamayim. It is suitable for every God-fearing person. Sheyemeser bedoeg al churban bet hamikdash. It says, remember the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash. This is known as the prayer of Tikkun Hasot. Many pious people recite this prayer around midnight, which is a combination of a few chapters of Tehillim, talking about the destruction of the temple. Then he brings the concept of the sisit. So it says as follows. Tov le'istakel basisit. It is appropriate to look at the sisiyot when you're about to say the beracha. What does this mean? So the Lacha says in the longer version that before a person puts on the talet in the morning, we're talking about the talet gadol for shaharit. You should make sure that you have the 8 strings of the sisit. And the knots are there. Number 1. And look at them before you say the beracha. Halakha number 3. Gadol onesh hamebatel mitzvat sisit. The consequence of being negligent in this mitzvah is great. Why? Because it's a very easy mitzvah to do. You pray in the morning, you put on the talit. How long does it take you to put on the talit? Seconds. Unless you say the extra pesukim before and after. But most people don't say it. Say the beracha, the itatef, you wrap it around, you put it properly. That's beautiful. Number one. Number two, hazoche azahir b'mizvat tzitzit. A person that is meticulous in the tzitzit, zoche veroe pene shechina, will have the merit of feeling godly presence in their life. Next, I'm going quickly. Tefillin. When you put on the tefillin, obviously, we say in the Shaharit, the Kriyat Shema, Amidah, etc. Halacha writes that sporadically, throughout the day, you should touch your tefillin at least once per hour. Today, that we wear tefillin only for a few minutes for Shaharit is a discount. Is a discount rate. The tefillin was worn all day long, from sunrise till sunset. All day long. And there was no 8:20 minyan or a 6:45. There was one minyan. Nets. And tefillah took 3 hours. Not on Shabbat, on the weekday. 1 hour before, 1 hour after, 1 hour during. So if you have the tefillin, you touch it every hour. Every hour, make sure to touch your tefillin. Relax. Today we don't do this. Why not? We're living among the goyim. The distraction of the mind is greater than it was in the time of the Talmud. Even in the time of the Talmud, people used to go to work with tefillin. But how long did they work? Seconds, minutes, an hour or two. Enough to have food for the day. First, you touch the tefillin of the head, of the hands. Ukshartam leot al yadecha. When you look at the shrik al bechor, vaya leot al yadecha, totafot ben anecha. Or when it comes to the Shema, you need to touch your tefillin of the hand, tefillin of the head. All Sidurim tells you where to touch the tefillin. When we remove the tefillin, remove the head first, and then the hand. And the Halakha describes the reason why. Additionally, when you remove the tefillin of the head, should be standing, because since we put the tefillin standing, we remove it standing. Remember one thing. Tefillin is a weapon. Sure. It's a pasuk in the Torah. Bera'u kol amei ha'aretz, ki shem Hashem nikra alecha, beyareu mimeka. And all the nations of the world will see that the name of the Almighty is upon you, and they will have fear of you. As the Gemara, what is this? Elu tefillin shevarosh. The tefillin on the head are the crown of the Jewish people, and in the merit of the mitzvah of tefillin done properly, the goyim have more respect and fear of the Jewish people. So make sure your tefillin is on straight. Make sure that the tefillin you're wearing is kasher. If you have not checked it in 3.5 years, definitely you should go ahead and do it. It's also the minhag established by the Chachamim to kiss the tefillin when we put it on, and kiss the tefillin when we put it away. The Halakha writes, Ra'ui lekol ish Israel la'asot ken. Every Jew should be meticulous in this step. Now, what's the big deal? If I kiss the tefillin or I don't kiss the tefillin, Halakha says, hibub mizvah. When you kiss something, you show the love for the mitzvah. That's why you see people kiss the mezuzah, people kiss the Safra Torah, the tzitzit, the tefillin. You kiss your parents, you kiss your grandparents, you kiss your children, you kiss the mitzvah as well. Now, Halakha also writes, all the time that the tefillin is in our body, the body needs to be clean. Clean of a few things. Number one, internally. First you go to the restroom, then you pray. Also the body needs to be careful of not to release gas. That's a problem when a person wears the tefillin because of the odor that it produces. Sometimes you cannot control it. I understand that. But if you think that something is going to be happening, better use the restroom, relieve yourself, and then come to pray. And one more thing the Halakha writes is that when you put on the tefillin is in your body. Sarich leizaher meirhur ta'avat isha. Make sure that you do not have prohibited or forbidden thoughts during the mind time of the tefillin for the kedusha that the tefillin brings upon the person. Let me just see one more thing. Okay, I think that for today we leave it as is. Obviously, these are not normal days. Be'ezrat Hashem, we hope and pray that things will get better as the minutes and hours of the day go. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'Amen. Rabbi Hananiah ben Akashia Omer, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל לפיכך, הרבה להם תורה מצוות שנאמר, אדוני חפש למען צדקו